if you have any land, not all of that land will be cultivated to grow vegetables as soil. Some of the land will be orchard, some of the land will be rough land, some land may be grazed. You need to control the vegetation on that land, and you need to control self-sown trees which would otherwise spread across your land and make it unusable. The scythe, the traditional scythe, is much the best tool for this, for controlling vegetation out in the field. You can use a scythe in the middle of June, once the vegetation has got high but has not become woody, to cut off all of the serious weeds at ground level, put them on the compost heap, and in 2 or 3 years you will have a beautiful meadow with wildflowers, and all the material you've taken off with your scythe will have been composted and become food for your garden. And it leaves the material nice and long, so you can very easily pick it up and dispose of it. It's not easy to learn to cut with a scythe. That's the problem. There's quite a learning curve, and in order to work, the scythe has to be razor sharp, and I mean razor sharp. This is, well, it's sharpish at the moment, so that before I go out and start scything, each time, I might scythe for 2 hours, but before I go out I will normally put an edge on the blade again by taking material off, and this is a big chainsaw file, and I sharpen from the underneath always. So I turn the scythe upside down. Sharpening takes a little time. One of the crucial skills of being a good scyther is to have the blade as low as possible, and I'll show you that in a moment. Because the lower it is, the easier it cuts. Right. This blade, you can see already, it's much smaller than it used to be. This blade is about 5 years old. This, which is called the scythe, the wooden part, I bought that when I was about 20. It's screwed and glued, but it's a particular way of fixing 2 bits of wood together, called a scarf. This is called a whetstone, and we use it to sharpen the scythe. Normally the scythe will be wet because of the grass that you're cutting, and it's simply a very hard stone that will remove the metal and make a very sharp blade. At a microscopic level, there are tiny little serrations created by sharpening, so it actually is like a little tiny saw at a micro level on the edge of this, and you often cut yourself. This is razor sharp. It is razor sharp, so don't cut yourselves. The scythe cuts grass very short and very easily. It's much more efficient than a strimmer when you come to cut rough material like docks, brambles and thistles, and it makes no noise. It leaves all the material in neat lines, so it's easy to pick up and put on your compost heap. And all the material that's cut ends up on the left hand side. Here it is, it's all cut. And so when I finish one row, I have to go back and start at the beginning again. And the next lot of cut grass ends up on top of what I've already cut. Using a scythe is skillful. It has to be very sharp or it won't cut, so you have to learn to sharpen it, which takes time and practice. And when you scythe, you must be very careful to use a scything action and not to chop. If you chop, you might hit a stone or a tree stump and break your scythe. It's not strong enough to survive such impacts. But with skill, a little practice, you can cut very quickly and with great pleasure, and it's a very, very practical tool.